Welcome everyone to our Guild Over the Years 90th anniversary celebration. My name is Susan Stager-Zeeb. I'm the current chair of the University Guild Board. I'd like to welcome you again to our event today. During the next hour and a half, we'll have a guest speaker and a presentation for you. But before we begin, I'd like to do a quick introduction of the Guild Board and the people working behind the scenes to make this event happen. And it sounds like we might need someone to mute if you can. The Guild is a group of alumni and parents that help enrich the college experience for current students while exemplifying the university's ideals of scholarship, freedom, and faith through fundraising for scholarships, research, and organizational gift grants. This year's board of directors is made up of 9 members. In addition to myself, we have Robert Wilczynski, vice chair, Lori Brown, secretary, Michelle Hart-Warner, treasurer, Katie Lukens-Chanchi, Sydney Finley, Sarah Chernus-Floyd, Lindsay Retker, and Kathy Burson-Sterling. The Guild office staff also works tirelessly behind the scenes to help ensure the Guild runs smoothly. Linda Retker is our executive director, and Stephanie Scipio-Milne, Michael Beaver, and Tracy Dane also work closely with the Guild, and they are helping us today with the technology aspect of this event, which I'm very thankful for. And do we have President Padilla with us? All right, wonderful. Welcome. It's my privilege to introduce the president of Valparaiso University, Jose Padilla. President Padilla comes to Valpo with a long career in higher education. He has served as vice president, university council, and secretary of the University of Colorado system. Prior to that, he served for 15 years successfully in a number of senior leadership roles at DePaul University in Chicago, most recently as vice president, general counsel, and secretary. President Padilla is widely respected nationally in the higher education space as having superior business acumen and as a man of faith. His experience ranges from undergraduate student, alumnus, donor, lecturer, administrator, member of the president's cabinet, and board member. His leadership experience provides the background to address the university's current needs and, moving forward, the strong desire to increase enrollment and attract a more diverse student body. He is also very energized by interactions with alumni and friends of the university while exploring additional ways for alumni to volunteer in recruitment opportunities. President Padilla received his Bachelor of Education Elementary from the University of Toledo and his Juris Doctorate from the University of Michigan Law School. President Padilla's professional affiliations include the American Bar Association, the DC Bar Association, and the National Association of College and University Attorneys, where he was chairman of the board of directors. He currently sits on the board of trustees for St. Thomas Aquinas College in Spark Hill, New York. President Padilla, welcome.
Thank you, Susan. How are you all doing today?
Great, thanks.
I just came, we watched my family and I watched the first half of the Valpo football game against the University of San Diego, which unfortunately we're losing, but it's still a nip and tuck game. So that was fun. Would you like me to start off?
Please, go ahead. Go ahead. Thank you.
Well, thank you. Guild members, it is so nice to meet you. I hope to have an opportunity to meet you in person, but thank you so much for your leadership and your devotion to this great university, and congratulations on 90 years. That's amazing. And it's a sustained effort on your part. You know, there are a lot of groups that are kind of like boom or bust, but you aren't that. You have been sustained throughout those 90 years, and we appreciate that, and we're better because of you. I really empathize with what you're doing, and only because I know how hard it is. For 7 years, I was in the board of directors of the Alumni Association for the University of Michigan, my alma mater, and I know how hard it is to have a sustained effort and to energize your members to make sure they're marching in the same direction on behalf of the university. It takes a lot of time, takes a lot of energy, a lot of commitment, and you've done that in droves, and I really appreciate that very much because I know firsthand how hard it is. What I wanted to tell you a little bit today is that, you know, this is 7 weeks that I've just finished as president following Colette Irwin-Knott, who's on this call, I see, and I think she must be calling in from her vacation spot, but it's so nice to see her as well. In that 7 weeks, it's been a ride. As you may know, on my very first day, we had a positive uptick of 60 COVID cases. And we had to put the university into a remote learning only environment for 2 weeks until we got that under control, which we fortunately did. And now I'm grateful to say that Our positivity rate is hovers around 1%, which is fantastic. But it took a lot of work on behalf of the entire university community. Another thing that I had to do was relieve our interim vice president for enrollment management because the numbers were not acceptable, and also there are leadership issues. I was hesitant to do it at first only because we were in a search for a permanent vice president for enrollment management, which we've just concluded successfully. But I was hesitant to do it, but I also had started gaining confidence in the whole entire team in enrollment management. So we pulled the trigger and relieved an individual of his duties. And since then, the numbers have gotten incredibly much better, now to the point that we're in many cases better than we were this time of year in 2020 and in 2019. We still have a lot of work, but in doing that, I still want to express my appreciation for all the work you're doing on your behalf and helping us spread the gospel of Valparaiso University to prospective and interested students all across the country, wherever you are. I'm grateful to say that our permanent vice president for enrollment management is a person by the name of Brian O'Rourke. He was the vice president for enrollment management at Mount St. Mary's University in Los Angeles, California. He has over 20 years of enrollment management experience. We purposely looked for individuals who worked in small private universities, tuition dependent like ours, where they have to slug it out day in and day out to try to bring in a class. He brings that kind of background. And fortunately for him, he's also coming back home to the Midwest because he grew up in Chicagoland. And he will start June 1st. And he's already contributing to our team to try to get those numbers even better than they are right now. But we will continue to need your help and support this year as well as going forward. And one of the things that I'm tasking our alumni office, as well as the enrollment management office, is to work with Brian and work to you to create even a more robust way in which you can continue to conduct activities in your homes, in your locations, to possible interested students who may want to come to Valpo. The other thing we're going to be doing, which will be very important, is we'll be starting a strategic planning process at the end of this academic year. It will be a year in length. I've already appointed a tenured faculty member by the name of Kevin Gobert, who right now is finishing up his term as the chairman of the Faculty Senate. He's a tenured member. He's a Valpo alum, and he will be my executive director for strategic planning. I wanted a tenured faculty member to help me run that process because I think, as you know, he brings instant credibility by virtue of him being tenured, by virtue of being an alum of the university, and he's very devoted and committed. And I think that will help in terms of bringing faculty into this process to make them feel that they have skin in the game. In a couple of weeks, we're going to be having graduation, and I'm going to give you a sneak peek. It's going to be in person. As you know, last year it had to be virtual, but we're like 99% of the way there. We'll be making an announcement most likely Monday. Because of space limitations, we want to be real careful. The state of Indiana, Porter County, they could care, not that they could care less, but they don't have these kind of space limitations that we use ourselves to keep our people safe. We've been struggling to how to do that. And so what unfortunately we're going to do is a lot of the faculty and the staff who historically have been participating in graduation won't be doing that, in order for our graduates to invite at least 2 guests to their respective graduations. We think it's more important, given the sacrifices this senior class has made over the last 16 months of COVID, if not more. I think it's really important for their parents to come in and see their children graduate. So right now we're putting the finishing touches, and that will be the case. Another thing I wanted to let you know, so you can tell everybody you see, we're going to be open for business next fall. Now, you know, unless of course there's some blow up and variants and so forth, but you know, we've been very careful, very cautious, and we don't see any reason why we can't open up in the fall. One thing that I'm considering very seriously is to requiring all faculty, staff, and students to be vaccinated by the time the academic year begins. I was just there to do that, to pull the trigger there, but the J&J suspension kind of had me pause for a minute to see what the ramifications of that are. But assuming that either comes back online, or even if it isn't, I think I'm going to be doing that so that everybody feels as safe as possible when they return in the fall. So staying tuned on that one. And last but not least, I have to tell you how incredibly impressed I am by the Valpo family. Let me give you a couple cases in point. When it came to this COVID outbreak, some of the best leadership on campus were our seniors on campus. They did social media postings to their colleagues, to the underclassmen, to say, don't screw this up for us. We want to have the best possible remainder of our student experience here at Valpo and enjoy the events that we customarily have after returning from Easter break. And so far, they were able to have the dance marathon, obviously socially distant, but they were able to do that. And they're able to do all kinds of other things that they typically would do, albeit maybe somewhat modified because of COVID. But it was their leadership that got their fellow classmates to be disciplined and be serious in meeting our restrictions regarding COVID. Another part of the family that stepped up was during this admissions season. I had a town hall the second week of my presidency where I told everybody it's all hands on deck and trying to get those numbers up. You know, we just couldn't wait till the next vice president comes on board, because by that point in time, he may not be able to have much impact on the class we bring in the fall. So I implored everybody to cooperate and collaborate with our Office of Admissions, and boy, did our faculty do so. Our interim provost, Eric Johnson, galvanized the faculty to join with us, to reach out to admitted students who hadn't yet deposited, to talk to them on the phone, have Zoom calls, meet them in person to the extent that was possible, help lead the tours, and they really did step up. Arts and Science is now particularly engaged because of the prospective students that we have there. We have a deposit deadline of May 1st, and I'm confident that we're going to get good numbers in, but there's going to be some flexibility we'll give to people who may not be able to meet the May 1st deadline, but who need a little bit more time, and we'll work with them as well. The next challenge, though, will be transfer admissions. We're behind in that regard, and that concerns me. So to the extent that, you know, you can help out there, anybody who might be interested in transferring to Valpo, we could use all the help we can get. And again, I can have Linda work with you to and coordinate with the Office of Admissions in that regard. And the other thing, as you may or may not know, is I'm living on campus in the same house that Colette was in the guest house on McIntyre Court. My family, Hilda, and my daughter Camille, and my dog Coach, we're living there, and we're having a great time. We'll be here for at least a year, maybe more. And that has really given me the ability to feel the vibrations and the pulses of campus. I will tell you, Coach is a magnet to these students. And in fact, we already have one who has signed up to walk him. We pay her. We pay her. We're not going to take advantage of our students, but it really has been a pleasure just to interact with these students. As I said before, I walk across the street and was able to watch the first half of the football game. I'll go over now and watch the soccer game with my family, or the women's softball team. And I'm not too far away from the baseball fields and the track fields. And as you may have seen on social media, I probably pulled a muscle throwing the discus on Giving Day on Wednesday, but I've since, I think, recovered. I kind of overestimate my talents, and I kind of live back in my high school years, but that's just been so much fun, and it just energized us. So I will tell you, when I was at the University of Colorado, I started there in July of 2020. And within a couple of weeks, I realized I had made a mistake, insofar as that I had left DePaul after 15 years and being part of a faith-based institution. I realized I had made a mistake in going to a place that wasn't faith-based. I realized how important that was to me. And that's why when Valpo came across the transom, I jumped on it, because I love being in a place where our faith in God transcends everything we do. Every goal pursued, every question asked, every lesson learned. It's our North Star at what gives what we learn here context. This morning, at 8:30, I gave a opening presentation to newly admitted students who haven't yet made the decision to deposit. And I talked about our faith-based institution, this great, wonderful institution. I also ended my conversation in an indirect compliment to you all, because I told them this may not be the school for you, because we're going to push you, we're going to challenge you, because we build Valpo students for speed, we build them for greatness, because you're walking in the footsteps of the giants who preceded you over the decades, and that includes you and the Guild. And you may think that might be hyperbole, but it isn't, because I've seen your leadership and your devotion. We've seen all our alums all across the country in the positions of leadership they have, with some maybe not as public as others, but nevertheless following our mission of serving our fellow citizens here in the country. And I wanted the new admits to realize that's what we're getting into. But I told them, if you put some faith in us, we're going to pull the giant out of you. And you're going to do things that you thought you were never capable of doing by the end of your tenure here. And I really do believe that. So I want to thank you for setting a path for these students so that we have this contiguous line of greatness, starting with the alums who are here, as well as these students who will hopefully join us in the fall. So again, I want to thank you so much for inviting me. Congratulations on 90 years, the $4.5 million that you've raised over the years. I know there's going to be more of that, because you care about this institution and your love is infectious, and it's infected Hilda, Camille, and myself, and even Coach. So in any event, I'm going to end right there, and thank you again, and take any questions you may have.
Thank you, Jose. We'll have, if you have any questions, you can type them in the chat, and then we will read them out for Jose to answer. Thank you.
By the way, I want to stress one thing. That's a complaint I had. I spoke to the Alumni Association board today. My only complaint to them was they kept on calling me President Padilla. To you, I'm Jose. The students call me President Padilla, and I've also told staff and faculty in the presence of students, call me President Padilla. But otherwise, in these kind of settings, I'm Jose.
Wonderful. Thanks.
We have a question from Jennifer about the status of study abroad programs.
Well, as you can well expect, we do still have some study abroad programs, but they're not as robust as they would be pre-COVID, because obviously we got to be very careful and with regard to the safety of our students. But as the world starts opening up, one of the things that we'll be doing is exploring as much as possible to have them kind of return to what they had been beforehand. There's still some, but not as much. And we're going to be cautious because, you know, first and foremost, I have to worry about the safety and welfare of our students. But once we're confident that they can be safe, we look to open it up just as we had before. I will tell you one more thing on study abroad, by the way. I think it's a wonderful program, but, you know, as time goes by, we're more of a commuter school. We're still residential, but it's about a 2/3, 1/3 breakdown. And there are a lot of students who simply can't afford study abroad. And I think one of the things I like to think about in terms of philanthropy is a way of making sure that all our students, whatever background they have, can have the experience, if they so desire, of study abroad. We have, you know, a sizable percentage of our students are Pell eligible, meaning that their family income is at or below poverty. And naturally, you know, they most likely can't afford to do study abroad without help. And I want to make sure they get that help necessary. So so everybody, regardless of income, can enjoy what many of you enjoyed in terms of study abroad, as well as the kids here at Valpo.
That's great. Do you want to go ahead?
Go ahead, Susan. Go ahead.
How do you like from Sarah? How do you like the food at Founders?
Well, it's helping me in my weight loss program. Actually, I tell you, Well, listen, I have to take responsibility. I think I've put on the COVID-15. I'm telling you, before COVID, I haven't had the courage to go on a scale. I don't want to see it. I just get bummed out. But they have a great salad bar. And, one Saturday evening, after I put the kids into remote only, Founders was still open, but albeit with restrictions. And so I visited them on Saturday evening over dinner. And there was something that looked like spaghetti. In most plates they weren't eaten. But, listen, cafeteria food is cafeteria food. The students say it's not all that bad. And it looks okay. But, it's part of the experience, right?
Yes. Dorm food and dorms, yes, part of the experience. Do we have any other questions for Jose?
Yeah, is this the best you got?
I know, right? Oh,
Let me see. There was some in the chat room.
yeah, those are the ones we read.
Okay.
Oh, here's another one. What are your hobbies from?
Well, first of all, despite the COVID-15, it just really goes to show that the most important thing in terms of weight maintenance is not how much you work out, it's what you eat. I work out like 4 or 5 times a week, and I still had the COVID-15, but I love to work out. I have in the basement, I've set up a really cool workout room for me with my Peloton bike, which I'll tell you, if I didn't have a Peloton bike, it'd be a COVID-30. But I've set that up. So I love to do that. I just love hanging out with my wife and my daughter and my dog. But when I have time, I want to start going back to fly fishing, which I really enjoy. And, one of the things that I really love is theater and the arts. And, I'll be in search of that. I know they have some theater here in downtown Valpo. And I love to read anything having to do with politics and history. As you know, I was in Washington, D.C. for about 8 years in the 90s, working in the Senate and the Clinton administration. So I'm a political junkie in that regard. So anything on that, I love to read.
Great, thank you. Okay, now they're flying in here, the questions. How did you meet your wife? Inquiring minds.
Well, she's not here, so I can tell her. I can tell you all. It was my first year in Chicago after law school. And I was working at a law firm, and there was a female lawyer who was a friend of mine. And I was telling her I wanted to get involved into Latino politics. And she probably also knew I was a single male, new to the city. And she was getting facials from my wife at a department store that I don't think exists anymore in Chicago. It's called I Magnin. And she used to go to my wife to get facials. And my wife was talking about her involvement in a political campaign for an individual who would end up being the first Mexican-American elected to the state legislature. I believe that was the case. So in any event, under the ruse of me getting involved in this campaign, my friend, who was very strategic, set up what effectively was kind of like a blind date, although it wasn't characterized that way. And so my wife and I met at this fundraiser for this candidate on the Magnificent Mile somewhere. And I was kind of a smart aleck. My wife Hilda is about 4'11". Sometimes she's 5 foot, depending on the gravitational pull of the earth. But in any event, so I was a smart aleck. It's one of those deals where we're waiting to meet each other, and it's Hilda, Jose. Oh, okay. So on the way, we met somewhere to walk to this hotel where the fundraiser is going to be. And being the smart aleck I was, and probably because I was nervous in her presence, I said, "Listen, I got to tell you, I can't marry you because my dad wants to have grandchildren who are basketball players." And at that point in time, she would have justifiably said, "The heck with you, I'm out of here." But she stuck around. So we went to the event, and over the couple hours that we were talking, she just enchanted me. So by the end of the evening, I told her, "I'm going to marry you." And about 2.5 years later, I did. Hilda is from She grew up in Mexico till she was about 10 or 11 in the state of Durango, came here like a lot of Mexican immigrants to Chicago, started up, if you know anything about the city of Chicago, Pilsen. That's kind of like the port of entry for a lot of Mexican immigrants. And they moved back to the yards and then ultimately at Midway Airport when I met her. But she is I'll tell you, she's like Valpo. She's small yet mighty. And I have to tell you, she scares the hell out of me.
That's awesome. What is the most pleasant surprise that you have learned since you've arrived at Valpo?
It's a continuing, how do I say this? Does it make sense if I say it's a continuing surprise of the love people have for this place? And let me tell you, on Thursday morning, I believe it was, my assistant said there was a older alum. She was the widow of a faculty member, and she wanted to give me a gift. And it was only going to be for about 15 minutes. So I met her, and she has this big bag, and it was a prayer quilt knitted by another Valpo alum who for some reason wants to remain anonymous. But it's a prayer quilt that while you're knitting this, you pray for somebody. And it was the prayer quilt. While she was knitting this, she was praying for me. And I'm like, oh my God. I mean, how much, I never had anything happen like that at like DePaul. I wasn't the president, but still to have somebody who went out of her way to knit me something like that and pray for me, it just really just hits your heart. And I've seen other instances of that. And so I'm just constantly surprised about the devotion people have to this place and wanting me to succeed, not because of Jose Padilla, but because they love this institution.
That's great. Kind of following along that, any status update on the Crusader mascot change?
Well, right now we're still in the phase of receiving submissions, suggestions. They asked for a little bit more time because they've been inundated with suggestions, and I've agreed to do that. And then once they get their arms around that, they will then be wading through all the suggestions to provide up to 4 recommended mascot/nicknames. Now, we may prolong it a little bit more because we thought we would spend a week or two letting the Valpo family, including you, the alumni, of the 4 suggested finalists, not to get a vote, but just to get comments. Because with votes, you can always jerry-rig those things, and it, unless it's some really strict control thing, doesn't necessarily mean anything. But we'll put it up there for public comment. And then after that, then I'll make the selection from one of the 4 finalists, as it were.
Okay. Great, thank you. What are the plans to reopen the Richard Brower Art Museum?
The plans are to open it as soon as we can afford to open it. It's not going away. But, naturally, we're in a tight financial environment. And if it means, losing employees or cutting back on the service we provide to students versus the art museum, obviously the employees and our students have to take priority. Mm-hmm. But when we're in a better situation, I plan to have it open. It may not be open in the way it had been in the past. But we'll do it in a measured way. But obviously, it's a treasure that we have, and I want the rest of the world to know about that treasure, as well as it's a great learning tool for our students.
Thank you. I'm trying to visualize this question. Are there thoughts of reopening the entrance to Guild Hall that faces the chapel?
I'm sorry, what's the question?
If you would consider reopening the entrance to Guild Hall that faces the chapel.
Well, I'm always open to reconsidering anything. I can't tell you what the odds are my answer will be, because because I know there's probably, as with anything, something so simple is probably more complicated than I ever thought. So we'll have to do some inquiry about it. Why is that? Well,
I'm not sure. If the person who wrote the question give us some additional information, that'd be great. Oh, there's a staircase there. Thank you, Stephanie. Okay, so there's a staircase. I can't visualize it in my head, so I'm not sure what they're referring to. So, oh,
This is Rebecca. Can you hear me?
yeah.
They closed it. I think they moved the main entrance over to Memorial Hall for security or something a while ago, but it faces the parking lot. And so now they put plantings in front of the Guild Hall entrance, but it really should, in my opinion, my humble opinion, should be more connected to the rest of the university. I know it's not a high priority. I'm just planting the little seed right now because it's a beautiful entrance, into it, but right now it's blocked off.
so planted.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
It's a guild meeting, so I thought it was
There you go.
appropriate.
Good question. Good question. What changes are in store for the graduate school at Valpo?
That's a good question. My interim provost is Eric Johnson, and he just recently hired a new associate provost for online learning and graduate education. Because of COVID and other reasons, it isn't robust as we want it to be, and he wants to start reinvigorating it with the hire of this new associate provost. So that, coupled with the fact that our graduate programs, we're going to use online education as a way to expand our graduate offerings. And I've created a small working group, including this associate provost, in which to do that. So all I can tell you right now is to stay tuned, but that is a priority of ours. We still have to provide some meat to the bone, but that's going to be a priority because we have great graduate programs and we're not really maximizing them to the fullest way we can. The other thing is this: any institution that wants to survive anymore is going to have to provide more online offerings. And I think the way to start that is to people who have graduated already, whether they be through traditional graduate programs or, short certificate programs, or anything to help people get a career boost. And we can use that online platform to do that. COVID taught us that we had so many online capabilities, more so than we had, or that we thought we had. And so that is something we will capitalize on.
Sure, that's great. Student turning an outdoor amphitheater space for student programs. Would there be any room for that on campus, or is it in campus planning?
Colette's on. I've looked at the master plan, but it hasn't been in a while. I don't know that it's in master planning. But obviously we have tons of space. That's something that's an idea, but naturally it has to go through the master planning process. But again, it's not something we'd rule out. I don't know that in the short term there's going to be a lot of capital construction activity, because right now we want to get our arms around our financial situation, and we're going to let the strategic planning process that I mentioned earlier help dictate. It will inform what we do with respect to capital projects. We're going to be asking some really tough questions that we're going to noodle on, such as, are we going to continue to be the residential university we have been in the past? Right now, again, as I mentioned before, 2/3 residential, 1/3 commuter. And I'm not exactly sure what the answer is going to be, because again, it's a collaborative process in which we're going to think about this in a very deep and serious way. And just as an example, I'm not saying this is going to happen, but let's say, for example, it continues to be 2/3, 1/3, or maybe even a little less. I don't think that's going to happen, but you never know. Well, that means we have a couple dorms that are not being used now, and then they may come down or be used for something else in support of the academic mission. But that's where I'm saying the strategic planning process will inform what we do construction-wise on campus.
Right. Thank you. And what are your hopes for the future of the Guild?
I hope you have a 180th anniversary. I'm not going to be here, but I sure as heck hope you do that. I knew from the get-go, the first time I talked to Susan, that this is something that we hadn't utilized enough. Now, we've utilized it, but I just figured, I came to the conclusion we could really even work together more
Mhm.
and in pursuit of whatever we're doing. As I said before, admissions. And again, I want Brian, his insight and how we can do that, because he's come from a couple of different institutions. I'm sure he has some models in mind in how alumni like the Guild can help us there. I appreciate everything else you've done. I don't want to minimize what you've done for us in the past, but in a situation where there is going to be a demographic cliff in 2026, and there's going to be a precipitous drop in the number of 18 to 24-year-olds, we're going to need everybody engaged in trying to keep enrollment up at Valpo. So we'll need your help there. But that's not going to be the only thing, I'm sure, on your project list, and there'll be other things you can help out with. But at least for the time being, enrollment has to be job number one.
Of course. We'll make this our last question. And oh, by the way, the football game is now tied. Thank you, Dot. How can we get potential students from Northwest Indiana to understand that Valpo may not be out of their price range?
Well, that is really a good question. Up until recent, our numbers in Northwest Indiana were down, and I really couldn't figure that out. Now, I think in part, it's one of these deals where, the kids, to the extent they have means, they don't want to go in their backyard. They want to get away from mom and dad, and I get that. But obviously, COVID has changed a lot of that, and they're still in this era of uncertainty about their future. We have been a lot more aggressive in reaching out to the high schools in Northwest Indiana. I myself I have a meeting scheduled in the first week of May with the superintendent of Michigan City Schools, who I didn't know this, but she's a friend of mine, or she was served on the Alumni Association of the University of Michigan with me. And so I'm going to meet with the superintendents or the key decision makers. I'm going to bring in an admissions counselor with me who's responsible for that area, so that we can really tighten the connection there. Now, with respect to affordability, one of the things we're doing that really isn't just specifically connected to Northwest Indiana students is we have a small working group, including board members, on affordability, our tuition discount and the tuition that we charge. Fortunately, Brian O'Rourke, our new person, has a lot of expertise in this area, and he's going to help in this process to let students anywhere know or come up with strategies to make it more affordable to come here.
That's great. Thank you. Well, Jose, thank you I'll let this one last one slip in. Is there a special recruitment effort to reach students from parochial schools? So faith-based.
I'm going to say yes, but I have to be careful here, because otherwise this Catholic president might be kicked out of this Lutheran school. Because I will tell you right now, on the data that we have of the students who've been admitted, to the extent that have identified their religion, we don't do this consciously, I'm telling you right now, but basically the number of Catholic admits doubles the number of Lutheran admits. And I was telling my team, I said, you guys are killing me. I mean, there are some who think this is a Catholic takeover of this institution, which would never happen anyhow. But, clearly parochial schools have to be a focus because, one, faith-based. And so it's kind of like a seamless transition into another faith-based institution where, we're on the same team with the same head coach, right? So it's a seamless experience. For the parochial schools, we have St. T's on campus, which is really a draw for them as well. And so the answer is yes. But one of the other things, though, I'll be talking with Brian O'Rourke about, which makes it worse. Here I'm bringing another Catholic into the fold, Brian O'Rourke. But we want to be a lot more conscious about what we can do to bring in more Lutheran students into the school. As you know, the number of Lutheran schools, actually like the number of parochial schools, are declining overall, just because that's the way it is, unfortunately. But I want to make more of a conscious effort of tapping into Lutheran students and having them understand what they could gain by coming here to Valparaiso. And this is where you could be particularly helpful because, again, the number of Lutheran schools is declining, but we'll still hit those. But the one way I think we can do it is by using the Guild, because if, for example, you're in Maryland, like the Zimmerman family is, who I was talking to about a week or so ago, and they would be more than happy to host myself or one of my colleagues to their house, where they can invite friends from their Lutheran church and their friends' kids to meet them and spread the gospel of Valpo. So a lot of it will be strategic in terms of how we set up our website and how we target them through social media and such. But a lot of it would just be, as I said before, pure old-fashioned hustle and utilizing your contacts just to go bit by bit by bit. In admissions, it's like football. It's inch by inch. You're just grinding it out. And one way we can do that is by working with the Guild to host events that we, in turn, can then reach more Lutheran or other students who may be interested in this school.
Right. That's great. Okay, well, thank you so much, Jose. We really appreciate you coming to our 90th celebration today, and we appreciate your time. You can head off to the next sporting event that your busy day, or whatever else your rest of your day holds. So thank you so much.
I'm headed off to the Valpo Chamber of Commerce dinner tonight with Hilda. And then tomorrow, I think this might be, did any of you sing in the choral when you were here?
Yeah, we have a couple, yeah.
Well, they're having a practice in the chapel, and they invited Eric Johnson and I to come and just watch practice tomorrow afternoon for a half hour. So we're going to do that.
That's great.
Well, listen, thank you all so much for your kind invitation. I look so forward to meeting you in person, hopefully in the fall when the world opens up again. And thank you for your thoughts and your prayers. And I'll tell you what, I'll cut a deal with you. You pray for me, I'll pray for you.
Sounds good. Thank you, Jose.
Thank you all.
Take care. And it's our slideshow that was put together by some of the board members who picked highlights from the years, the things that the Guild has done over the years. Most recently, these umbrellas were a gift grant from last year, and they were ordered and installed just last month. So nice bright yellow color out there on the patio of the Union. So another thing that the Guild has done for the school. You know, as you know from our newsletters, we have several fundraisers that we run year round. The care packages have evolved with another organization, but we still offer those for students or being sent to students. Terry Lynn, they have the nuts, confections, and snack mixes. That's a new, a different avenue that we started that program from the pecans, you know, from long ago. Rally scarves were new this fall to show your support for the university at sporting events. Playing cards up there in the upper right. Those, another thing, you know, we know there's a lot of people that like to play cards, especially when we're home for COVID. And then of course, Valparaiso, that was out a couple years ago. We still have that's available for sale. The kicks, that's a special item. We've done that at least twice. We're looking to have another version of the shoe probably in the fall. So that's not a year-round thing. That's a special item. So keep your eyes out for that as we come back in the fall.
And Susan, if I may say, each time we do the shoes, they're different designs. So they're limited edition.
Yes.
So you should buy some every time.
Yes. Thanks, Katie. And, you know, Day of Giving was just this week on Wednesday. This is the past amounts we've had. I would just note the 2016-2017, there were a couple of years where we had a match from a member. So that pushed those dollars higher. I don't believe we have a dollar amount yet from this year, but hopefully we'll have that. We'll know that, you know, when we do our meeting again in the fall. So last year in 2020, the Guild was able to provide $112,158 to the university, $34,523 for campus gift grants, some things like the umbrellas, but other projects, scholarships, and then an undergraduate research fund of $10,000. And these were the 6 gift grants from last year in 2020. Again, these are things that people apply for. They submit the grant applications, and then we have a committee that reviews them, and then bring them to the membership for vote on the ballot in July or August. And then we announce them in the fall. And then, as Jose had said earlier, the Guild has given over $4 million in grant funds over the years that we've been involved with the university. Next big thing. So the Guild board has some things we're contemplating for what else, we can help with the students on campus. And, Jose gave us a couple, I think, additional ideas today of things that we'll consider. But stay tuned for further updates from us in our newsletter, or, of course, when we do the ballots and then at the annual meeting at homecoming. Ideas are always welcome. So feel free to reach out. So some of these that made comments today in the questions, we appreciate that. That's very helpful. So don't hesitate to reach out and let us know what you're thinking as well. Okay, so, Cocktails and Cupcakes was started a couple years ago, evolved from a senior women's tea, but we want to it evolved to honor and recognize the Valpo's senior students, in this last couple weeks of school. For them, it's an honor to recognize our senior students for having the resilience this past year to push forward towards graduation. We, the Guild Board of Directors, want to let you know just how proud we are of you. It's been no easy task in dealing with all the different issues that have come upon all of us. As one way to thank you for participating in the anniversary celebration today, each senior student who signed up for the event will receive a gift certificate from Susie's Cafe from a complimentary cupcake. And we wish you the very best with your graduation and future endeavors. If you have your glass handy, we can raise a toast. I got mine here. I just have to pour. So do that. Okay, and cheers to the class of 2021. All right. Thank you for that. This is the list of all the Guild executive directors from 1931 to 2021. As many of you know, Linda Recker is our current executive director, and we could not exist without Linda. So we thank her for all her efforts. Appreciate her help. And again, these are recognition of all the VU Guild past presidents from 1931 through today. I'm sure some of you are on this call, so thank you. And, if you're new to the Guild, just a reminder that how to join the Guild, you go to the our Valpo website, give.valpo.edu. If you give at least $50 to the Guild annual membership fund, that gives you the 1-year membership in the Guild that starts July 1st of every year. Then you can vote at the annual meeting and on the campus gift grant ballots that are mailed out in July. And as we talked earlier, things are evolving. We're doing some different things. We're always looking, we're going to be looking for new ways to do things, especially as Jose said, to get students into Valpo and make that connection. We have several committees. Some are, kind of seasonal, like cocktails, cupcakes and cocktails, Day of Giving. Guild grants is in the spring, but if there's something here that tweaks your interests, please let us know. We're happy to have all kinds of help because, as you know, we're all volunteers, and this takes a group effort. So if you're interested, please let us know. And here's how to reach us. We have this just recently, a new Facebook group page. We'd like you to join that if we try and keep things interesting and post in there. Of course, the university has a Facebook page, the website, Loki Hall, that's where the Guild office is located. There's our email and phone number to the office as well. So please reach out.
Happy anniversary, everybody. This is just a lovely occasion, and we can thank the board for putting it together in spite of all the restrictions that this past year has brought. You know, I always thought that my relationship with the Guild began the day I moved into Guild Hall as a freshman. I was in a very large class, and the regular freshman women's dormitory was already filled. So I lucked out by being in Guild. But one day, years later, my mother set me straight. She and my dad came when I was installed as the Guild executive director. And one of her first comments was, well, this is appropriate since you've been connected to the Guild your whole life. Whoa, what? I said, Mom, what are you talking about? And she told me something that she had never mentioned before. Now, my mom was a fan of the Guild. She lived too far from a chapter to be a member, which was how it was back in the day. But she was a pastor's wife and she knew about it from the church. She thought it was wonderful that there was a Lutheran university and that there was a women's group that was organized to be of support to the university. So it turned out that after I was born, she made a small donation to the Guild in my name. Who knew? Now, as a student, I was aware of the Guild's projects, some of them at least. Besides Guild Hall, there was Gloria Christi Chapel and library books and benches and ping pong tables and some of the furnishings in the dormitories, and on and on and on. I went to the senior event before graduating, and shortly afterwards, I became a member. Now, like my mom, for a while, I lived too far to be involved in a chapter, but somehow I got on the mailing list, and so a little bit from Valpo would show up from time to time, which was just great. Then when I came back to teach, I immediately became a full member of the Valparaiso chapter and took my turn making birthday cakes and helping staff the football concession stand and being a chapter officer. Now, knowing something about the Guild's history helped me too, because I taught women's studies courses. You know, the first couple of histories of this school applauded the phenomenal fundraising and also recruitment efforts that Guild members provided over the years. But it was Richard Bepler's 2001 book, Flame of Faith, Lamp of Learning, that gave the historical context that illustrated so beautifully what I had been trying to explain to my students. Women gained the vote in 1920, when many were beginning to be educated and part of the larger society. But much of public life was closed to most of them. They had very few opportunities to learn the skills that are helpful in making the leap from private life to the world of business and political action. Bepler said that the Guild became one of the organizations that provided leadership training for bright and able females. And they could then turn around and use their knowledge in their local congregations and their home communities. And then as World War II came along, the world changed in their careers as well. And Bepler stressed that along with fundraising and recruitment, this leadership aspect was a unique part of this very unique organization. After all, the university was founded in 1859 as the Valparaiso Male and Female College, one of only a handful of schools in the country that were coeducational from the start. So partway into the 20th century, the board of directors made a place for women, usually Guild members, to join its ranks and provided a way for female ideas and recommendations to be heard and often acted on. It is a fact that when people work together on a cause that is of great importance to themselves and others, lots of marvelous things happen, and it can be so much fun. Some of the projects have been just delightful. Many of you remember when we sold more than get this, 500,000 butterfly magic bows for 25 cents a piece. Here they are. Can you see that? We raised a ton of money. Like, would you believe, $250,000 that went towards our current project at the time, which was a racquetball handball courts in the Arc, plus scholarships and other funds. Wow, the 3M companies certainly knew about the Guild. One way that participation in the Guild has been important to me personally is that when I became executive director, my sister Ruth, also a Valpo grad, became the managing director of the Bulletin, our twice yearly publication that highlighted our annual fall convention and our early spring leadership council. This meant that we two sisters were together during at least 4 weeks every year, something extremely precious in a family like ours that had been widely spread out for most of our adult lives. So, what does the Guild mean to me? It has kept me close to a place and to people that I have always loved. We keep in touch, which is a way to help make life sweet. So I recommend membership in the Valparaiso Guild to everyone, man and woman, who wants to do good and to have a splendidly good time doing so. The Guild's been at it for 90 years, and there's still so much more to come. So, again, happy anniversary. Thanks.
Good afternoon, Guild friends and friends of the Guild. My name is Sylvia Lukens, and I've been associated with Valparaiso University since I fell in love with the place on my campus tour in my senior year in high school. I set foot on campus in the fall of 1958, and my connections to Valpo continued to grow when I met my husband, Tom, on campus. His dad was a Valpo grad, class of 1935. Many of our relatives followed us to campus, and eventually both of our children attended and graduated from Valpo. I am very pleased to say that our youngest granddaughter, Andrea, is a freshman on campus, and she has the honor of being the Lukens' fourth generation Valpo student and a Guild scholarship recipient. She's a California gal who loves Valpo. I, of course, knew about the Guild when I was on campus, when members came to campus for their fall convention. I officially became a member of the Guild when we moved to Rochester, New York. I joined the Guild because two of my Valpo friends, who had been music majors with me on campus and were members of the chapter, they asked me to join. How many times have we encouraged our members to ask someone to join? Just saying. That's where my love affair with the Guild began and where many favorite memories were made. The Rochester chapter at that time was very famous for its Valpo Christmas Vespers, and new leadership was needed. I was asked to do the job along with my two friends, and we took it on for the next 9 years. My whole family got involved either in the children's choir or the adult choir. And we loved it when we started planning the service and attending rehearsals on Sunday afternoons. We still talk about that today. I honestly can't remember what offices I held in the chapter, but Betsy Nagel was the executive director of the Guild at that time. She encouraged me to consider taking on some responsibilities with the Guild on a national level, and I consider her to be one of my biggest Valpo Guild mentors. Memories galore started to take shape when I started attending the 2 meetings on campus each year. I eventually served on the National Guild Board, first as the vice president for marketing and communications, and more recently as what I would call a member at large. I also served as an area director for the West Coast when we lived in California, and I advised 22 Guild chapters. I'm very sorry that many of you celebrating together today never had the opportunity to journey to campus for either of those two annual meetings. I was always overwhelmed by the warmth and enthusiasm with which Guildies greeted each other as they arrived. And as the friendships grew, as we worked together on many projects such as the Guild Cookbook and Guild Grants. The enthusiasm for Valpo and each other just radiated in every meeting. And of course, the highlights of all of those meetings were the presentations given by the Valpo students. It was clear that the Guild was all about the students, and it still is today. In my mind, the Guild was the best women's group I ever belonged to. The meetings and committees were all handled by highly professional young women and were led by clearly capable and gifted leaders who were focused on advancing the students' experience at Valpo, as we continue to do today. As I became more involved in the leadership of the Guild, I gained not only treasured friendships and acquaintances with hundreds of fabulous women as I kept up with university developments, but I became a more confident leader through the opportunities I was given, and as I tested the abilities which I was not aware previously. I am convinced that it was those opportunities that led me to be asked to serve in what is now the Advancement Office as a development officer, where I worked for 25 years. I'm quite sure that the many contacts I made through the Guild gave me the credibility to be successful in my professional work, and I'm forever grateful for that. My hope for the future of the Guild is that it will continue to focus on its purpose to enhance the student's experience and offer financial assistance through the Guild Scholarship Program so that other students can continue to enjoy that unique Valpo experience. I trust that the Guild will raise up new leaders who will use their gifts and the tools of their generation to reach out to students and their parents to not only raise awareness of the Guild, but to seek their involvement in its purpose and discover the joy it brings in serving the Valpo students, and then remaining forever Valpo.
Hello, present and future Guild members. Yes, I'm also talking to you guys. I'm Tom Lukens, and it's time for you to get on board. My Valpo connection goes back before I was born because my dad graduated in 1935. My sister and brother and I graduated from Valpo. My wife, Sylvia, and our kids, Tom and Katie, are also graduates. And we're pleased that our granddaughter, Andy, or Andrea, is a freshman on campus now. All in all, with my siblings and cousins and other relations, the Lukens family has sent over 20 folks to Valpo. We bleed brown and gold. My Guild connection began with my wife, Sylvia, getting very involved back in the late 70s and 80s in Rochester, New York. There was a strong Guild chapter and a strong alumni group with much overlap, obviously. So events were often Guild/alumni events. I sang in the Guild-sponsored Advent Vespers choir. I got a barbershop quartet together for some Guild dinner entertainment and things of that nature. Strong friends developed from the Guild. We moved to California in 1986, and Sylvia was involved in the Guild in Southern California. And after a few years, she became the area director for Area 4, which was the West Coast and Hawaii. But somehow, we never convinced the Guild to pay for a trip to Maui. Anyway, Sylvia used to produce a newsletter for Area 4 called the Forefront, the number 4 front. And it had sections like forward, foremost, forget me not. Anyway, I worked at Xerox at the time, and Xerox had a fabulous computer system. So I was the guy that did the layout for the newsletter. Sylvia provided the content. And then one night, we would travel down to the Xerox offices and print all of the copies that were needed for the 20+ chapters for the mailing. Thank you, Xerox, for all that Guild contribution. So then we would go out to dinner, and that cost $60, which now is $135 in today's dollars. Some of my fondest Guild memories. Ha. Along the way, I have assisted with Guild grant evaluations, manning the snack bar during home football games, writing poetic toasts for Guild conventions, and I became a member when gentlemen were invited into the fold. Excuse me. When I was on campus in the early 60s, we used to make fun of the Guildy girls coming for the conventions, but I'll tell you, I have wisened up to all of the great work the Guild has done for students over the years. My hope and prayer for the Guild are that the Guild can continue to provide that assistance to students in the form of scholarships or grants for things that enhance their experience on campus. Years ago, when there were local chapters and they would meet at that gathering convention on campus once a year, there was a great bonding between members from all over the country. And it reinforced their commitment to the university, for supporting the university. I hope the Guild can bring back that atmosphere on campus in some form now again. My daughter, Katie Chan-Chi, has gotten her mother's zeal for the Guild, and now she's a board member. So I hope she and her fellow board members can make this atmosphere happen again. Thank you.
My name is Barb Damon, and I'm a 1976 graduate. Ooh, that does sound kind of old, doesn't it? But sometimes it seems like it was just yesterday. I'm an alumna. I'm a Guild member. I'm a former Guild board member, and I'm a former Guild chair. And I'm glad to be here to wish the Guild a happy 90th birthday and to let you know why I think the Guild is so important, not just to me, but to Valparaiso University. I first became acquainted with the Guild when I came to campus as a freshman and saw Guild Hall. I then learned there were so many things around campus that I'm sure you've seen yourselves or heard about that the Guild made happen. I also remember getting a really cool care package from my mom via the Guild, and it helped so much because it was just what I needed. I was so homesick when I first came to school. There were also the weekends that we were overrun with Guildy ladies. Every year, the Guild would hold a convention on campus, or every so often they'd have a convention on campus. And women of all ages would show up. And it was so cool to see them all over, reuniting with friends and looking and visiting different places on campus. But the part I remember most was I had to get out of my room for the weekend and let the Guildy ladies stay in our room. But it was fun, and it was so exciting because they always would leave us little gifts after they left. So it was like, what are they going to leave us this year? This is going to be so cool. It was then that I knew I wanted to be a part of this organization, or at least to learn more. When I graduated, I moved to the Chicago suburbs, and one of my college roommates and I joined a very large Chicagoland Guild chapter. I thought, okay, I'm going to check this out. I have some time. I could get to some of the meetings we had. It was close to my house. So our goal was to help Valpo students from our area do things to take care of them. We had pre-freshman year picnics to introduce new Valpo students to each other, so they had at least a friendly face on campus when they got there. We baked cookies to send to kids. We raised money to help major Guild projects on campus. And it brought us together with other Valpo grads and other friends of the university. I even won in a silent auction a Homer Drew autographed basketball, which I have to this day. And I was just thinking this week how sad it is that Scott Drew's name isn't on it. Also a former basketball coach at Valpo, since he was the winning coach for Baylor in this year's national championship. But although times change and people's lives become even busier, the Guild had to change too. And after 90 years, the Guild and its purpose to enhance the student experience lives on and is still relevant and successful. When I think about the Guild, I think about two things that are very important to me: giving back and reconnection. Giving back to a place that was such an important part of my life and the adult I became is so very important to me. Even if you only have time to pay your membership fee, you are helping students, something other Guild members did for you. To see the gratitude in students' faces and the wonderful handwritten notes you get for helping with a scholarship or a student trip, or even putting up umbrellas at the student union is so gratifying. And reconnection. It's hard for almost everybody to graduate and leave a place and friends that were part of your life for 4 years. It's sad when people separate and go their own ways, but being part of the Guild brings back that reconnection and brings you back to people, and sometimes even back to campus. And it's amazing. It's just an amazing feeling to come back, even after many years, to see what's changed on campus. But one thing remains the same. You see the chapel and your heart is just filled with love for the university. So you get that Valpo feeling, and it's just amazing. I recommend getting back to campus anytime you can. It's unbelievable. But as those of you who are seniors are getting ready to leave, think about giving back and think about reconnecting. Think about the Guild. And to those of you who have been Guild members over the years, or even new Guild members, thank you, thank you, thank you. We are so fortunate to have an organization like the Guild. Very few universities have anything remotely similar. So even though I've kind of squished it over here, let me just say, happy 90th birthday, Valparaiso University Guild. I wish you 90 more successful years. Thank you for everything you do. Happy birthday.
It's my honor and privilege to recognize a member of the Valparaiso University Guild for 40 years. The Valparaiso University Guild Board of Directors resolution in honor of Colette Irwin-Knott. Whereas since 1977, Colette has been an active member of the Valparaiso University community as a student leader, studying in the College of Business, and as president of Phi Beta Chi. Whereas Colette's accomplishments include being a member of the VU Guild since November of 1981, and she has served as our treasurer. Whereas Colette's accomplishments include membership on the LUA Board of Directors of Valparaiso University. And whereas she assumed the role of interim president of Valparaiso University, the first woman, the first alumna to do so, breaking the glass ceiling as a role model for very many Valparaiso University students. Therefore, be it unanimously resolved by the board of the Valparaiso University Guild that we recognize and honor Colette Irwin-Knott for her 40 years of service to the Guild. Signed, Susan Zeeb and Linda Rutger. Congratulations, Colette.
Thank you so much, Linda, and members of the Guild. It is just an absolute privilege to be with all of you today. And it's so wonderful to see so many familiar faces. And I remember the first anniversary celebration of the Guild that I went to was the 50th anniversary, where I went with my great aunt Marge. And then I remember the 60th, the Diamond Jubilee, the 70th, I don't remember quite as much, and then the 80th, I went with my good friend Georgie Schrader just 10 years ago. But it was really the Guild that kept me connected with the university from my graduation to this point in my life. And it too was such a privilege to serve as interim president of the university. And when you talk about those leadership skills that I learned really through various mentors in the Guild and so forth, that is what allowed me, I mean, really was the foundation to give me that kind of opportunity. And, you know, we oftentimes say that the world needs more Valpo grads. And by that means we need more Valpo students. And you heard Jose today talk about just what an important role the Guild can have and will have. I know we've already talked about the person-to-person program that we used to have and so forth. That he and I had that in a conversation and so forth. And I shared with him, and this group so exemplifies just the deep, deep love that you have for the university and what that means. So thank you. I am very humbled to be with you and to have served in this role. Blessings to all of you.
Thanks, Colette. Thank you, Colette. We appreciate it.
Judy Roman, hello.
Hello.
Who's that?
From Jackie.
Hey,
Oh,
Jack.
hi, Jackie. Hi, Jackie.
We definitely, Judy, can get the list of the people that registered for this event, as well as the people who attended. 93 people registered before today for the event, and it looks like at maximum we had 60 people on the call.
Oh, great. Well, thank you. That'll be fun to see.
Sure, happy to do it.
That's great. Let's see, we have a question. Can we do? Can't read all these. Can we do a continuing? Oh yeah, can we? Okay, can we do a continuing education event where we sleep in dorms like they did before? Well, we can start with. I mean, events are definitely possible. Do you really want to sleep in the dorms? I don't think I want to, but.
Upper right.
Oh.
A convention.
The convention, well, you know, future convention opportunity. I mean, these are things we discuss from time to time. You know, it takes it's a big process. Those of you that have been involved for a long time know that, you know, the conventions it was a lot of work. So if it's something we're going to do, we'll plan that out in the future. Even, you know, it's not, especially right now with COVID, you know, we're not really planning much of anything on campus. So, you know, Linda's got lots of things she has to keep tabs on, but you know, it could happen again at some point in the future. The recording for the event will be available. We have to do some modifications of the formatting, but it'll show up on the Facebook page and the alumni page probably, you know, in a week or two at the latest. So.
Yep. And please, everybody, put October 1st through the 3rd on your calendars for homecoming.
Mm-hmm.
We really want to have a face-to-face event with a nice annual guild meeting.
Mm-hmm.
And we also want to be able to celebrate, you know, an extension of the 90th anniversary at an Oktoberfest event of some sort. So please, you know, mark it on your calendars and hopefully you can do some traveling next autumn.
Yes. Yeah. Push back a week because of the football schedule. So normally end of September, now first week in October. And I'm told to remind you, for those of you that are just tech friendly, if you change your view to gallery view, you can see it's like the Brady Bunch look. So you'll see the whole spiel. So any other questions we can answer for anyone? Anyone else want to say hi to somebody who's out there they haven't seen in forever?
I do.
Hi, Katie.
Hi, it's Katie Lukens Chanchi, for those who can't see me right now, but I wanted to say hi to Jennifer Love Pruitt. I haven't seen you in years, but I just wanted to say hi because I saw your name and that you posted something in the chat, and that was so exciting to me. So hi.
Hey there. Hi, Katie.
Hi.
Good
I think
So good to see you.
I think we need to say thanks to the board for doing this.
Oh,
You
thank you, Dad.
look so great.
Appreciate that. It was the couple ladies that and the membership of the board that worked on this it was a lot of prep work, and Linda's office helped a lot. So we appreciate that. And someone posted, if you lived in Guild Hall and you're on campus, raise your hand.
Oh.
That's awesome. It's a great.
I want to thank Jennifer Jennifer Love Pruitt. I want to thank her as well because she went to the church I went to in California, and her and the guild member Joyce Rich really talked my ear off about Valpo and definitely helped me decide to go there when I was young.
Awesome.
I just want to say hi to Ethel. Hello, Ethel.
And hi to Betsy.
Box right above Crystal Lou's. Oh, yeah, there.
Yeah. It's been a very special time.
Is that Paula Sauer where it says James?
Hi, Judah and Barb.
Hello there.
Yes, James Sauer is my alter ego, alias husband, who didn't go to Valpo, but out of
Yes,
all-
I said that's Paula.
one that
She
did
came to Bell's funeral. There's Christine, yeah.
was Paula.
I just want to say hi to all of the members of the old Amen Corner.
Yes.
Amen Corner, however you want to say it.
Hi,
So,
Lorraine. There's Bev, yeah.
Christine was in.
Duluth.
I have to say hi to my California friends too, Ethel and Leslie, and I don't know who else. I hope I didn't miss anybody, but I missed you.
I wanted to.
Sylvia, you missed me.
Hello. I want,
This is Ruth Dixon.
So do we want to say where we're from? Well, raise our hands by region. So anyone on the West Coast? So.
Yes.
Okay, great. Thank you. Thank you.
Betsy's on the West Coast.
Oh, Ruth Finkelstein.
Awesome. Okay, how about the Midwest? Okay. And then we'll go East Coast, so everything east of Valpo. Yeah, geography was not my strong suit, so.
Well, divide it in 3 works.
Definitely. Oh.
I wanted to say hello to everyone from the days of the 80s and 90s for the VU Guild Bazaar. I was a local chair representative along with Dee Streetoff and Karen Bryers. And then my predecessor was Arlene Smith. And I recognize all you wonderful customers. I remember your wonderful generosity in purchasing so many things. I will not name names or the things you bought, but you made quite an impression. So thank you.
That's awesome.
As a parent of 2 Guild Cookbook Scholarship, I want to say thank you very much.
You
There
bet.
you go.
Yeah,
Okay.
that cookbook fund, man, that was one of the, well, after Guild Hall, in my opinion, was probably the premier fundraising effort because that's continuing to give, 4 to 6 scholarships a year. And that's great. That's what we need to have students on campus. So well done. Well done.
I remember testing recipes for volume 1.
So hi, everybody.
Hi, everyone. This is Marion.
No. Oh, yeah.
Marion Midge Ray Rauer Koenig. I'm Karen Breyer's sister-in-law.
Hello.
Oh.
Hi.
Hey there. Hey, Midge.
Oh.
Yes, Midge.
Hi, Midge from Dutch Hall.
I even got a recipe in one of the cookbooks.
Is
that Barb Riefmeyer with Cheetah?
Yes.
Hi. 2 of my children are Valpo grads too. One in 79 and the other one in 94.
That's awesome.
83.
No. Oh, yeah.
No, not 79, 83.
I'd like to remember Shirley Honnold, who was very
Yes.
instrumental in all.
Actually, Nectarine was in my class at Valpo.
And I know Jackie knows this. Shirley Honnold was my aunt. So I come to the Guild in a circular fashion. I wasn't.
Judy
really involved post-college, but happened to join when my daughter went back to campus. It started 2015 to the 2020 grad, so 2019 grad, sorry. So yeah, she it's been good for me to reconnect with everyone too. But I was going to ask, I think I have 15 or 16 family members that went to Valpo. Anybody? I know Tom, in Tom's thing, you guys said you have about 20. Anybody beat that number? 20 family members or more?
Okay. We had about
13. I'm sorry, say that again, Dot?
We had about a dozen.
A dozen? That's great.
Yeah.
That's great.
Okay, Barb, go for it. Okay, I had 13.
Awesome.
We've got 15.
15? Very nice.
We have a bunch, and now my granddaughter Allison is going to be a freshman in the fall. She just announced that.
Yay! Congratulations. That's awesome.
And from our church in Laurel, Maryland, this is our 4th student there who is on campus now.
That's awesome. Very well done. So even though we didn't really have the chapters, since it changed, we're still out there and we're still making the connections to Valpo. So that's awesome through our organization, things that we do for our faith-based things at our churches. So that's great. We appreciate that.
Ellie. Oh, Melly. No, I don't see her.
Oh, somebody posted here, thanks Rebecca, that if you need a cookbook, they're available on eBay. I think we have some in storage and on campus too, don't we, Linda? If you want a cookbook, you want to build your collection, or if you know someone who's needs a set, we have some.
That's right. Buy them from us first, because then the money goes to student scholarships and things.
We may have, once Linda can get back on campus, we may have a rummage sale of Guild things that have been stored.
Ornaments left, so maybe do an ornament deal.
There you go. Raise your hand if you were on the kissing bridge in past or present location.
Oh.
There.
That's awesome.
You don't have to say whether you were actually kissing, right?
That's that. Just raise your hand if you were there.
I had to be more inclusive just in case, but they moved it to a beautiful new location by the admission center. So I made my husband go there last year to kiss him on the bridge because they didn't have it out when I was there. So it was wonderful.
Awesome. That's awesome.
Well, we may have to try this again. This was kind of fun today.
Yes, it was.
Yeah.
It's Valparaiso, Florida. And believe it or not, there was an arched bridge near their city center. And when my brother and sister-in-law, who are both graduates, saw that, they said, we need a picture on the kissing bridge. And so my husband and I dutifully took a picture of them on the kissing bridge, kissing in Valparaiso, Florida. And then they said it was our turn, and it seemed a little bit odd because I was a graduate and Jim was from University of Cincinnati. So, but I guess maybe that could be called kissing on the kissing bridge. And
sure.
I don't know.
My husband was from Indiana University, so you can kiss just fine on that bridge from different alumni.
That's awesome. All right, folks. Well, we're a little bit over our time slot and we're going to get kicked off of Zoom, but we thank you all for joining us today. It was great. We appreciate all the efforts of the Guild office staff, Linda, Michael, Stephanie, and Tracy, for your hard work for making this a success. The Guild board, thank you all for the hard work I know you guys did to get this organized and for writing all the words I got to say. Next time, someone else is going to do all the talking, so thanks for that. And again, if there are any seniors left, congratulations to you. Thanks again for joining us today, and please reach out. We'd like to, try other things, so keep us, let us know what you're thinking. Thanks, everybody.
Bye, everybody.
Thanks, everybody.
Bye. Cheers.